WNBA Finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. You know, I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments, and so all I'll say is just...
The doors to the conference room at the WNBA headquarters were reportedly locked tight, and the mood inside wasn't just tense, it was desperate. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert didn't call this gathering to discuss quarterly earnings or routine scheduling updates. This was an all-hands-on-deck situation that insiders are describing as a frantic attempt to save the narrative of the league before it spirals completely out of control. The catalyst for this sudden panic wasn't a scandal involving a failed drug test or a legal issue, but rather a looming announcement from NBC that threatens to completely upend the hierarchy of women's basketball. For months, the tension has been simmering beneath the surface, with veterans taking shots at the new face of the league and referees swallowing their whistles while rookies get hammered in the paint. But the corporate overlords have finally seen enough. NBC, along with other media giants, is preparing to dump billions of dollars into the WNBA, but the word on the street is that their investment comes with very specific strings attached. And those strings are tied directly to Caitlin Clark. The emergency meeting wasn't just about basketball, it was about a hostile takeover of the league's culture, and what happened behind those closed doors is going to change the sport forever. But to understand why the commissioner is sweating, you have to look at what NBC just put on the table. This wasn't just a polite suggestion from a broadcast partner. This was a power move that reminded everyone who actually pays the bills. Sources indicate that NBC executives have been watching the current season unfold with a mixture of excitement over the ratings and absolute horror at how the product is being managed. When you sign a check that big, you expect your star asset to be showcased, not headhunted. The rumors swirling around the league suggest that NBC made it crystal clear that their broadcasting roadmap is centered almost entirely around the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. They aren't interested in the everyone gets a trophy participation mindset that has plagued the league's marketing for years. They want the Michael Jordan treatment. They want the narrative focused, the stars protected, and the storylines streamlined. The emergency aspect of the meeting reportedly stemmed from an ultimatum. Either the league gets its house in order and stops the internal sabotage of its biggest draw, or the network will step in and dictate the terms publicly. It's a harsh reality check for a league that has prided itself on collective struggle, but the days of flying commercial are over, and the people paying for the charter flights want to make sure the plane lands where the money is. What makes this situation so volatile is the commissioner's impossible position. Cathy Engelbert is currently standing on a razor's edge, balancing 2 opposing forces that hate each other. On one side, she has the billionaire, executives from NBC, Amazon, and Disney, who view the WNBA as a content farm and Caitlin Clark as the harvest. On the other side, she has a players' union and a locker room culture that is deeply resistant to the idea of one player being bigger than the shield. During this closed-door session, it's speculated that Engelbert had to deliver the bad news to the old guard of the WNBA. The message was likely brutal in its honesty. The newfound attention, the salary bumps, and the exposure aren't happening because the world suddenly decided to appreciate the fundamentals of the game. They are happening because of a singular lightning strike of popularity. The tension in that room must have been thick enough to cut with a knife, because admitting that a rookie saved the league is a bitter pill to swallow for veterans who have been grinding for a decade with zero recognition. But the networks don't care about paying dues. They care about ad revenue. And right now, the data shows that when number 22 sits on the bench, the viewers change the channel. But the plot thickens when you look at the timing of this intervention. This emergency meeting comes right on the heels of the Olympic roster controversy, a decision that many believe was the first strike in this war between the networks and the league's coaches. Remember, NBC broadcasts the Olympics. When the committee decided to leave the most popular female athlete on the planet off the roster, they didn't just hurt the fans' feelings. They allegedly cost the network millions in potential advertising revenue. There are whispers that this was the breaking point for the executives. They watched a guaranteed ratings bonanza get flushed down the drain because of basketball reasons and internal politics. This emergency meeting was likely the Never Again Summit. The speculation is that the new contracts will have clauses that prevent this kind of self-sabotage in the future. If the league wants the big money, they have to play the big stars. It's a ruthless corporate mindset, clashing with a purist sports mentality, and usually, the side with the checkbook wins. The rumor mill is buzzing that Engelbert had to promise that the league would stop trying to humble Clark and start trying to capitalize on her, even if it hurts the ego of every other player in the association. This brings us to the unspoken issue that was almost certainly addressed in hushed tones during the meeting: the officiating. You can't build a billion-dollar brand around a player who is getting clotheslined every time she drives to the basket while the referees look the other way. There has been a growing conspiracy theory among fans, and reportedly now among sponsors, that the league has been allowing an excessive amount of physicality against Clark to prove a point. It's the "welcome to the W" mentality, but to a casual viewer, and more importantly, to a network executive, it looks like bad product management. If your star player gets injured because a veteran decided to send a message, the ratings crash and the investment tanks. The emergency meeting likely involved a directive to clean up the game. This isn't about rigging games, it's about asset protection. The NBA did it for Jordan, they did it for Kobe, and they do it for LeBron. The WNBA has resisted this star-centric officiating for years, clinging to a gritty physical identity. But NBC isn't paying for grit. They are paying for highlights. The speculation is that we are about to see a major shift in how the games are called, and the players who refuse to adapt might find themselves fouled out or fined into oblivion. However, the resistance from the players is where this story gets truly dark. You have to understand the psychology of the locker room. For years, WNBA players have fought for scraps, playing overseas in dangerous conditions just to make a living. Now, the money is finally pouring in, but it feels like it's all credited to one person. The resentment is palpable. During the meeting, concerns were likely raised about a potential mutiny. What happens if the other stars refuse to participate in the NBC promos? What happens if the Caitlin Clark team becomes isolated from the rest of the league socially and culturally? There are rumors of players privately messaging journalists, trying to spin narratives that Clark is overrated or that her fans are toxic. Engelbert has to manage this civil war before it spills onto the court in a way that damages the brand. The emergency part of this meeting was about containment. They need the veterans to smile for the cameras and accept the new reality. But egos are fragile things. The fear is that if the league pushes the NBC agenda too hard, the players might revolt, creating a PR nightmare that accuses the league of favoritism and disrespecting the pioneers of the game. Let's dig deeper into the money, because that's what this is really about. Though valuation of the WNBA has skyrocketed, but it's a bubble built on the back of one specific demographic shift. The Caitlin Clark economy is real. Ticket sales for the Indiana Fever are outpacing the rest of the league combined in some metrics. When the Fever travel, opposing teams move their games to bigger arenas. The owners know this, They aren't stupid, but the coaches and general managers operate with a different set of incentives. They want to win games, and sometimes that means playing rough or focusing on defense. The disconnect between the business side, the owners/commissioner, and the basketball side, the coaches/players, has never been wider. This meeting was an attempt to bridge that gap by force. The message delivered was likely that the basketball decisions can no longer interfere with the business imperatives. If NBC wants a primetime slot featuring Clark, the coach can't decide to rest her that night to manage her load without a serious medical reason. The rehearsal freedom of the basketball operations staff is being curtailed by the necessities of the media deal. It's a bitter pill, but when you're trying to grow a league from a niche interest to a global powerhouse, efficiency ruthlessly eliminates sentimentality. There is also a darker, more speculative angle regarding the specific NBC announcement mentioned. Some insiders believe NBC is planning a documentary-style series following the league, similar to Drive to Survive for Formula One, but with a heavy focus on the rookies. If this is true, it explains the panic from the veterans. They know that whoever controls the edit controls the narrative. If the cameras are following Clark and Reese, and the veterans are portrayed as the villains or the hurdles for the young stars to overcome, it cements their legacy as the antagonists in their own league. The emergency meeting may have been a forum for the Players Association to voice their terror at this prospect. They don't want to be the Washington Generals to Caitlin Clark's Harlem Globetrotters. They want respect. But the harsh reality of reality TV and sports entertainment is that conflict sells. NBC knows that The Queen versus the Rookie is a better story than Everyone is Friends. The commissioner is tasked with convincing the players that playing the villain pays better than playing the victim. But that is a hard sell to competitive athletes who feel they are being disrespected. We also have to talk about the silence. Have you noticed how careful the official statements have been lately? After the initial wave of jealousy-fueled comments early in the season, the league's PR machine clamped down hard. This emergency meeting likely reinforced a gag order of sorts, not a legal one, perhaps, but a strong suggestion that negative comments about the league's cash cow will not be tolerated. The executives know that every time a player goes on a podcast and trashes the attention Clark is getting, it alienates the millions of new fans who are just tuning in. Those new fans are the ones NBC is targeting. If they tune in and feel like the league hates the player they came to watch, they turn the TV off. The commissioner knows this is a retention game. They caught the lightning. Now they have to keep it in the bottle. The meeting was about aligning the message. You don't have to like her, but you absolutely cannot publicly sabotage the product she represents. It's a corporate leash being tightened around the necks of players who have prided themselves on being outspoken and independent. And what about Caitlin Clark herself in all of this? She has remained stoic, the perfect corporate soldier, saying all the right things. But the pressure on her is immense. NBC betting the house on her success puts a target on her back that is bigger than anything we've seen in sports in a long time. If she fails, or if she gets injured, the ripple effect collapses the strategy. This meeting was essentially a risk assessment. The league is putting all its eggs in one basket, and the wolves are circling that basket. The commissioner's job is to build a fence around it. We might see rule changes in the offseason that favor offensive freedom. Shorter shot clocks, stricter foul calls, illegal defense rules, anything to open up the floor and let the shooters shoot. The purists will scream that it's ruining the integrity of the game, but the accountants will whisper that it's saving the future of the franchise. The WNBA is in a metamorphosis. And this emergency meeting was the cocoon stage. Ugly, messy, and hidden from view, but necessary for the new form to emerge. Furthermore, we need to look at the rumored NBC clause regarding marketing obligations. Speculation suggests that the new media deal requires a certain quota of promotional content from the league's top stars. This seems standard until you realize it creates a hierarchy. If the network demands 50% of the ad time be allocated to Clark, it leaves the other 143 players fighting for the remaining scraps. The agents of other top players, Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, are likely furious. They see their clients, who are currently arguably better basketball players, being sidelined in the marketing materials for a rookie. The emergency meeting had to address this equity issue. How do you keep the MVPs happy when the camera is only pointed at the rookie? Engelbert likely had to promise rising tide lifts all boats, revenue sharing, assuring the vets that while their face might not be on the billboard, the money from the billboard is going into their pension fund. It's a transaction, trading fame for fortune. But for athletes with egos, fame is the currency that matters most. The implications of this meeting extend beyond just this season. We are looking at a fundamental shift in how the WNBA operates as a business entity. For decades, the NBA subsidized the WNBA. It was a charity case in the eyes of many financial analysts. Now, with the Clark bump and the NBC deal, the WNBA has a path to profitability. But that path requires abandoning the sisterhood model and embracing the superstar model. The emergency meeting was the funeral for the old WNBA. The league where everyone flew coach and stayed in mediocre hotels is dying. The new league, driven by private jets and massive TV contracts, is being born. But the labor pains are excruciating. The players clinging to the old ways are being dragged kicking and screaming into this new era. NBC doesn't care about the history of the vibe. They care about the Q rating of the broadcast. The commissioner is the transition manager, and her emergency meeting was essentially a warning shot. Get on board or get left behind. Think about the long-term effects of the officiating changes discussed. If the league softens up to protect Clark, it changes the scouting reports. The big, bruising enforcers who made a living in the paint might find themselves phased out for faster, more skilled shooters who fit the TV-friendly aesthetic. The roster construction of every team will change. This isn't just about one player, it's about the evolution of the metagame. The meeting likely touched on this. General managers were probably told to start looking for talent that fits the new WNBA, high-scoring, fast-paced, and marketable. The days of winning a game 60-55 with grinded-out defense are numbered because that scoreline is a ratings killer. NBC wants 90-85. They want buzzer beaters. They want drama. The commissioner knows that if the product is boring, the money leaves. So, she has to engineer excitement, even if it feels artificial to the purists. There is also the element of the villain arc. If the league embraces the drama, as NBC likely wants, they need antagonists. The emergency meeting might have actually encouraged the rivalries, but within controlled boundaries. It's the WWE-ification of sports. You need the face, Clark, and the heels, the resentful vets. The danger is when the script gets too real, and the hard fouls turn into actual assaults. The meeting was likely establishing the line between good TV drama and bad PR disaster. They want the headlines, but they don't want the lawsuits. It's a delicate dance. The rumors of bounties or players targeting Clark intentionally had to be squashed immediately. Engelbert had to look the coaches in the eye and tell them that if anyone is caught intentionally trying to injure the Golden Goose, The suspension will be historic. The league cannot afford a martyr. Finally, we have to consider what happens next. The NBC announcement is coming. When it drops, we will see the results of this meeting in real time. Watch the officiating in the next few games. Watch the marketing rollouts. If you see a sudden shift in tone, a sudden cleanup of the physical play, and a massive push of Clark-centric content, you'll know exactly who won the argument behind those closed doors. The emergency meeting was the turning point. The WNBA is no longer a community project. It is big business. And in big business, the shareholders call the shots. The players might run the court, but NBC runs the league now. The uncomfortable truth that everyone in that room had to accept is that without Caitlin Clark, they are negotiating for peanuts. With her, they are negotiating for millions. The choice was easy for the commissioner, but painful for the culture. The revolution will be televised, and NBC is making sure the camera is pointed exactly where they want it.